My name is MetalMusicMan.
And I'm Professor Lex.
And this is episode 62 of the Metal and Lex podcast. Welcome. I noticed you were covering your face. I noticed.
So I was yawning.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I do the sort of face wipe where I drag my hands down from the top to center and get into character.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to change your expression. I knew a guy in elementary school who did that, and I always thought it was the coolest thing in the entire world.
Oh no, it's spooky, man. Yeah, that's too. I'm not trying to scare you.
Like he was way too good at it. Like he would just move and it would just suddenly be like a smile. It was like, and then he'd move it back down and he'd be like really angry looking. And I would like try to do it. And every time he'd just be like, "No, you're not." I'm like, I feel like I'm doing it. He's like, "I know, but I'm watching, and you're not."
Damn.
like, all right.
No, I'm a week from recovery from my second eye surgery.
Yeah, which by the way, I thought you were going to be like blind and dead for a million years, and it seems like you just were fine instantly.
I'm fine.
Are you a superhero?
No, not instantly.
Are you Wolverine?
I'm not Wolverine.
Do you have the adamantium eyes?
I couldn't really see until Thursday. As late as Wednesday, my right eye was just so big from the swelling from the trauma that it was like my eyes were crossed.
I want a picture of big-eyed Alex, big one-eyed Alex. You have a picture?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Why wouldn't I have a picture?
Is it like I'm imagining you like one of those there's like a bunch of cartoon characters that just randomly have like a bigger eye for no reason. I can't think of who. Oh, like the cat from Opus and Bill.
You've named a cartoon that doesn't exist.
You don't know Opus and Bill?
I do not know Opus and Bill.
You don't know the wish for wings that work?
No. What?
You don't know about... Oh my
Opus
God. We have to watch that. It's a Christmas special. It's amazing. He's a penguin and he has a trash can cat who is experimenting.
I was gonna say, I thought it was a cat. Okay.
No, there's a cat.
They experimented on Opus or Bill?
I think Bill is the cat. I think Opus is the penguin. And so So Opus is like, he's an idiot. They performed experiments on him and they replaced his brains with tater tots. And I thought that was like one of the funniest things in the entire world when I was like 10 years old.
That's really sad.
This cat makes no sense. He's like out of control. And then there's a pig, but he tries to pretend that he's like anything other than a pig. And he's like, "No, you're a pig. Pork. Pork, the other white meat." And like this pig's just like, "No, I'm a water buffalo," and he has this funny. But you don't know this. I can't believe. Okay, well, anyway.
Is this a childhood thing?
Dude,
it sounds
it's
very
like a whole
self-aware.
Christmas special. It's called. I forget. I think it's called A Wish for Wings That Work. I think. Or maybe that's just what he says, and it's called something else. Hang on, I'm gonna look it up. Opus and Bill. You don't know this comic?
Comic?
I can't believe you don't know this comic. Opus and Bill, A Wish for Wings That Work. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's amazing. It's $8 on Amazon for the DVD. I highly recommend you randomly purchase it, having never seen it before.
That is haunting.
What?
That cat has tater tot brains?
He's got like one big bulgy eye, and
Here I thought that they had they had resurfaced my eye with a laser, and they had just replaced my brain with tater tots.
Anyway,
that's awful.
This has been extremely derailed, even for me. I'm just like going on an in-joke that you don't even know, so never mind. But hey, if my brother ever listens to this podcast, which he probably never will, he will find this particular section very interesting, since we used to watch that cartoon quite a bit. Anyway, so your eye, one's bigger. You were talking about
I sent you a picture. My eye is mostly closed in that, but I think just based on the eyelid disparity, I sent it to you on Twitter.
Oh, man.
You can sort of get, yep. The eye is bigger. My right eye is much bigger than my left eye.
Yeah, it's all.
That was Tuesday.
That sucks.
Yeah, it fucking sucked.
You also look very like withered and depressed, which makes sense given what would have been occurring.
They shot my eyes.
But you look great right now.
Thank you.
I can't tell anything ever happened. It's like you have a totally normal functional body.
You'd have to get real close to really be able to tell.
The closest I've ever been to your face ever, and.
We're doing this teleconferencing.
Yeah.
No, so I'm good. I was playing Resident Evil last night, and I couldn't really read any of the diary entries.
Oh, that sucks.
My eyes all fucked. No, it's okay, because I was streaming it with Jeff and Zizi, and so Jeff was kind enough to read all the things for me. Yeah, the problem was there was this very tall zombie with a hammer or maybe an axe.
I thought you were gonna say with boobs and a sun hat.
Oh,
It's a
she's
different
like
lady.
she's front loaded. No, she's in the opening quarter of the game.
Yeah, sure.
Top deck,
Okay.
as it were. You know what I'm talking about. She's the first boss. And yeah, she's gone now. She was very nice. I liked her.
She's there, and then she just first boss, and she's gone and dead, and that's it.
Yeah. Like if I can praise Resident Evil 8 without ruining too much of the game for people, the first dungeon with Lady Dimitrescu, the tall vampire, big titty vampire girlfriend.
Yes, the internet breaking one.
It's just from her sheer height that she broke it. But yeah, that's like a whole ass Resident Evil game. Just the first dungeon is everything I wanted from a Resident Evil, and so everything after that was gravy. That said, the next couple of dungeons were actually also surprisingly good.
So game is good. Game is good.
Game is good.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil Village.
Village. Yeah. Okay.
They spelled it VILL, but the I is tall and the L's don't have the extra little leg, so it's like Roman numeral 8.
Oh, yes, I have seen that.
Yeah,
I thought it was. I thought it was a clever logo. It's a pretty good logo.
Well, because they're reluctant to call it Resident Evil 8, and I don't know why. They want us to call it Village, so I've been compromising and calling it 8age. That's what it's spelled.
My guess, I don't know shit about, obviously any of this, but my guess would be that they're trying to ease into a non-numbered naming system. Then would be my guess, which
is fine.
But they do that with things. I'm trying to think. I forget what it was. There's like, I can't remember, but there's some other event or game. E2.
Terminator 2. It was T2, and then Terminator 3. Wasn't that just like Terminator Judgment Day or something?
Terminator wasn't 3.
What's
Salvation?
No, Salvation was recent, wasn't it?
Maybe. No, I think you're right. Salvation is the more recent one. I don't remember what the third one was. It was really bad, though. Holy shit. And hats off to having a movie with Claire Danes in it that sucks ass, because that takes a lot of effort to like make a movie or a show that has Claire Danes and then have it suck. That's like, wow, Alex is dropping his microphone.
I'm sorry, I dropped the microphone. I caught it.
No, I'm imagining you in a situation where you actually drop the mic, like you have good reason, but then you do what you just did at the very end. You're like, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry, I dropped the microphone. You're like, fuck capitalism, and this is why blah. You're like, and you just totally kill it, earn it, but then like just because you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sound guy, Kevin, I know this. Your ears are your life, your livelihood. I am so sorry. I did not mean to disrespect your equipment.
Man, those sound guys, they have their whole things. And when I was an aspiring young metal singer in a garage band 12 years ago, or however long it was, probably longer because I'm fucking old. I remember I was doing. That's why I have these good mics. Actually, a million years ago, I did.
That's right.
The summer of garage band. Well, everybody found out I could scream sing, and they were like, "We want to do shit." And what I found out about bands is that it's worse than World of Warcraft when it comes to like actually getting people together. No. I just mean like getting people together and getting people to like do anything. I remember we tried to actually jam, and it was just like the drummer and the guitar player were just in like separate corners of the room, angrily working on their own thing and then complaining about how the other guy was like preventing them from doing a thing. And I was like, dude, we haven't even done anything yet. I don't even have a chance to sing anything because we can't do shit. Anyway, on the sound guy thing, apparently sound dudes really fucking hate when you like cup the mic, which is a very common.
Oh, yeah. This is the worst thing.
But it's a common like scream singer thing, right? Because
is it? I don't scream sing.
It is. I think it's got to do with, well, some of it's probably bullshit. You could probably still like have a mic and use it properly. But like a lot of them do it. I think it gives you like distortion or something. But I was watching this. This like documentary about some shit once, and it was fucking cracking me up because they were going like they were memeing on this shit, and like all these fucking singers were like, "Cup the mic or no cup the mic?" You know, that was like the question, and they were all like, "I'm sorry, sound guys, I will cup the mic until the day that I die." And I just thought, I'm just imagining like a sound guy being so mad because I feel like sound dude is like. That's one of the positions that, I mean, I know a decent amount about audio, but like sound dude is like a position that I can respect as like a computer IT guy of like, to the degree where people like think I'm a wizard. I can like respect like,
because it's magic.
Analog audio engineering, like
Yeah,
like that shit. Yeah, dude, you never. We were actually, that's probably why this is on my mind. We were fucking around with some shit with my mic before this podcast started, and there's just always there's so many variables with audio. Like, is it like there's something at work? I've been doing streams, and I'm getting like a fucking ground fault buzz or some shit on one of my. I have like
electricity.
I have like an adapter, and so I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, I know it's from plugging in power, but I don't understand why or what I need to like ground to figure this shit out. And that's just like one of those things where you'll tell people it. I remember telling, it was when I was doing like a stream and I was telling somebody, I was like, yeah, hopefully this stream doesn't go longer than like an hour because I have to run off the battery of my laptop because if I plug it in, it fucks the audio up.
It screams at you.
And they were just looking at me like, and this is like somebody who doesn't know anything about anything technology-wise anyway, but they were just like, that doesn't, what? And I'm like, look, man, I don't have time to explain to you. Like,
rules.
like it's got to be something else. I'm like, no, I assure you. Like, have you tried a different power cord? I'm like, yeah, it's not about the power cord. It's it's about that there is power.
The amperage.
Like this
Come on, man.
Invisible electrical shit, man. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway,
you don't have the eyes like a shark. Sharks can sense. It's not an eye thing. Electromagnetic waves.
Yeah, hammerhead stuff.
You bring
man.
a shark in. Yeah, you get you a shark. Bring them in. I'm sure they'd be able to go over the sound equipment for you with a fine tooth comb.
Apparently, a lot of sharks do have like what hammerheads can do, and hammerheads just I guess have it better. Yeah, so that's.
Well, it's the shape of the hammer's head or the hammerhead's
head.
Dude,
what a God! Nature is so fucking cool.
Dude, nature's wild.
Nature is the coolest fucking thing ever. It's so like. Can you imagine being a shark and just being like a shark? A shark is in tuned to weird electrical currents the way I'm in tuned to like nothing because I can't compare it because I'm not.
I thought you were gonna say like ARPG. I should
say butts or something. ARPGs. Look at Alex. Alex is the consummate professional. Alex knows what I'm going to talk about, and Alex is trying to segue us on track. This is why you're the best. The best support player of all time, Alex.
Thank you.
We gotta get you playing an MMO or a fucking
a first-person shooter
or a MOBA.
Mercy main, by the way.
Not Overwatch.
Not
Alex.
Overwatch.
Go
That's
away.
all I know, man.
No way.
Console Overwatch.
Alex.
You need an Ana player.
Alex, I was trying to prop you up, and now you're telling me about playing first-person shooters on a console, and you know what this is going to do to our friendship. All right, this is. God damn it. Anyway, okay, so our actual topic of today, I guess we'll just dive in. Alex tried. He tried to not derail us. And
you caught me. You grabbed me by the segue and then sent me back the other way on the escalators they've got in airports that are flat and don't escalate. You know, the laters that just take you across the ground.
The laters?
There's no escalation, so it's just lation.
Alex, you have to...
Do you know what I'm describing?
I know, but your word choice is illegally fantastic. I couldn't let you just later on away from that.
No, not again.
Without calling that out. Yes, I know about the laters.
Yeah, so it's like you took my segue and then you sent me backwards on a later.
That makes sense.
When I was trying to segue us to the
Do you think if you were riding a segue in the opposite direction of a later, which do you think?
Definitely the segue, but not by enough.
You think the segue would win? It'd be really slow.
It'd take you like 20 minutes to go like 30 feet.
I swear we had a topic. I'm picturing you on a Segway going the wrong way and then like explaining
totally stern-faced
why you're calling it a later to like passersby. Like people who are just like very busy business people with like 5 things of luggage and you're like, excuse me, sir. But did you know, like, and they're just like, they kind of like look at
escalators.
But there's no escalation.
But there's no escalation. So it's just I'll see it.
Oh man. Oh my God. Alex, you beautiful bastard.
Thank you.
All right. So I was going to talk about, I'm going to talk about some more ARPG stuff today that I know nobody likes. I was telling
Buckaroos.
I feel like I tried to talk about Path of Exile for 5 seconds when Pharaoh was on, and Pharaoh and Alex, I both was staring at them and they were like staring deep into my soul just with such hatred and vehemency for this entire topic that like I couldn't even.
Does
It weirded me out. No, he played D3. I think he's played a couple other ARPG. He's not a total ARPG noob, but he's not like a.
I am.
Yeah, he's not like you, and he's not like me. He's in the middle. He's like a more normal human. He's not like on the far end of either of those spectrums, the way you and I are. Oppositely.
Do you remember Black and White, that game that came out?
Yeah.
A million years ago. Is that an ARPG?
No.
Does it count as an ARPG? No.
Okay. Black and White is its own weird thing. I'm not going to say it doesn't have elements. I'm not going to say it doesn't have elements of it, but
I played Black and White.
Black and White was more of a RTS almost than anything, wasn't it? Like you built, like that.
There's like resource management. And
it's more of an RTS. I feel like if I had to pick
single genre,
it would be that. But I mean, it's black and white. It's kind of a weird fucking unique thing.
My computer at the time was too bad to run it, so
which is different than now.
Well, I could run it, but I can't run the modern black and white equivalent, which I guess would be Fable. I don't know. I don't make the rules.
Fable is an RPG.
Well, but it's Lion's Head Studios, which is where Black and White is from.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense, Alex.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, tell me about ARPGs.
We are winning today.
Dude, all right. We're on it. We're on topic.
I'm going to talk about some ARPGs, and I'm going to equate them to fighting games. And this
which is what people came for.
This is going to be about game design, which is all the topics that everybody probably likes here. So,
except for sex. We haven't talked about sex lives. But go ahead.
Well, I would have to have any sort of sex life other than just masturbating alone while drunk.
Hey,
but that's a pretty good one too. So anyway, here's the thing I've been looking at. I've been playing a shit ton of Path of Exile recently because everybody's not playing World of Warcraft, which sucks because I do still want to do dungeons and WoW. That's still like my favorite thing, but like nobody wants to do it. Pharaoh's been busy. Fucking all the other core group people, like they just get. The problem is I need a group that actually enjoys doing what I enjoy doing, which is like pushing high-end content. Like I basically want let me fighting game analogy this.
Yeah, because you're speaking.
I need people who enjoy like labbing setups and mix-ups and shit.
Okay.
But the problem is I play with people who just want to like go to a tournament and get drunk. No, it's not even that. It's just if they're a little more casual. Do you know what I mean? Like they're a little more.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
And that's not to say they don't like. There could be the guy like I can't think of anyone from the SCL scene right now to give. It doesn't matter because you'd be the only person who it made sense to. But you know, there's like people who are good, but they don't really like. They're not going there every week. Like
do you remember Kalen?
Kalen, the arcade guy.
The arcade? No. Different Kalen.
Then no.
Anyway, he was really nice. He was good at fighting games, but I think he came out mostly for the experience.
Yeah, so somebody who's good, but like they're not really trying to grind, right? And so that's kind of like my core WoW group is like that, where it's just like nobody really wants to do what I want. Pharaoh's maybe the closest, but even Pharaoh is like I think he enjoys to a degree, but he doesn't enjoy like pushing the higher content that I want to do. So then what happens is like everybody fucks off because they're a little more casual and it's like a late patch. And so then I just have like nothing to do. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I want to play Path of Exile because even though I don't love Path of Exile right now, it's still a really good game. And it's a great game to be angry at the world and alone and not need anyone because you just do everything yourself, right? So what I've been hitting is some walls in this game that are super fucking annoying. And this game has like, I'm going to preface this and say, if you've never played Path of Exile, you should play it because it's a great game. It's free. We talked about that in the past. It's free to play. It's fucking awesome. But the end game definitely falls off a bit. And where I've been hitting some annoying walls are with like the boss design of some of the end game encounters. There's just this like really harsh, like immediate plateau of like health and all this shit. And basically it's like you have to really build damage. It's like their bosses are all like HP sponge encounter design.
They made number go up. They didn't do an interesting play on the mechanics. They just made numbers bigger.
Pretty much. Yes. Yeah. And there are mechanics in the fights that are okay, but like the game is not that mechanically interesting. Like I've had better mechanically interesting fight experiences in games. Like I really like Median XL, which is a Diablo 2 mod. To me, that's the best endgame ARPG I've ever seen. And so I was thinking
that was a
about
spreadsheet thing. Sorry.
It has a weird name. It has, yeah, we'll just call it median. But yeah, it has a weird name. So this is where we're going with this topic and how it relates to everything in the design. I was thinking I'm like, why do I like Diablo 2 so much more? Why do I like Median, which is a mod of Diablo 2, so much more? Like, what are the core reasons for what I like about one game versus what I dislike about another game? And when I came to this conclusion, my first thought was, oh, that's really interesting. It's exactly what I like about fighting games that some people like or dislike in the exact same reason. And that is that Diablo 2 as an engine is a game that really you sort of just get offense. It just kind of happens. Now, that's not to say you can't like have more damage or build your character more offensively. You certainly can, but you're only going to be able to progress based on building defense. You can't survive if you don't have the right defenses, and you need to meet defensive checks. And so it's basically like, as you're playing the game, you are, and it's not, I mean, you know, this is a simplification, but that's not to say there's never a fight where you're like, oh, I need more damage. But most of the time, what happens is, and the reason that you can or can't progress, most of the time, more often than not, is because you need to hit another defensive check in order to be able to proceed. Path of Exile is the opposite of that. And there are defensive checks in Path of Exile, like 100%. But most of the reasons that you are or are not able to proceed in the way their encounter designs are have to do with, can you trivialize this by doing 10 million damage so that you don't need to do any of the mechanics at all? And like, that's not even a possibility on the Diablo 2 engine most of the time. Like,
okay, you're saying that number has gone up enough that you can circumvent a lot of the interesting micro-managing.
I would say that it's actually a requirement more than anything. There's like all these mechanics that like exist that they're fine. I'm not going to get in. Well, maybe I'll get into the nitty gritty of the mechanics. Actually, yeah, I probably will in a minute. But for now, like, there are mechanics, but like, more often than not, the best way to deal with mechanics in Path of Exile is to just insta-gib shit. And they literally balance the game around that. Because then it's like, oh, can you, like, if you look at like boss kill videos of like high end game content, like there are people who do all of the boss mechanics appropriately, you know, in like Path of Exile bosses. Like they'll have like really low damage and they will do all the mechanics. But nobody really wants to do that, and the game isn't balanced around that. And so they start like upping everything to where like everything is like a weird one shot, and you need to have like all this damage basically to subvert it. Like it can be done, but like people don't really, they don't do it because the game, like the meta of the game doesn't work out that way. They just get a billion damage and do that instead. So one of the things that's like really interesting to me about that whole setup and the defensive offensive nature of it is, like I said, how it mirrors my personal thoughts about like fighting games, where like if you look at a game like Street Fighter 4, there is like offense, you know what I mean? But there's also a significant amount of defense, and it's way more important that you get good at, you know, footsies. We've had this whole conversation before, footsies and defense and blah, 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 blah. So I had never had that thought. And I was like, is this just, I knew I had that feeling about fighting games. I knew that about myself, but I had never really like significantly thought about how I guess I feel pretty similarly in other games. And I do enjoy, like, you could look at Street Fighter 4, like, I enjoy offense a lot. I mean, that's why I fucking play Oni, right? But, or even Ultimate, even Smash Ultimate. I enjoy harassing people with, like, Ganondorf. But the reason I like Ultimate is because it is, like, the more neutral, defensively based game. So I just found this, like, thread, and I found it super duper intriguing. I guess not surprising, though, right? At the same time, it's like one of those, you're like, oh, of course. Why wouldn't I feel this way?
It's when you find out that you've felt that way your whole life, but now there's a name for it.
Well, it's less about the name of it and more that I just didn't think it crossed genres. Does that make, you know what I mean? I didn't really think it did, but it does. And I was like, man, what other games are there that, you know, I feel this way about? And it's like, if I think about, like, shooters or, like, whatever else, it's like, I generally just do prefer games where, like, yeah, like you know what? You want there to be some amount of offense. You want to reward people for being aggressive. But I don't want that to be like the end all be all. But I feel like if you're looking at like anime fighters and shit, that is how I feel about him. Where it is like, and that's not, again, it's not to say there's no. It's not to say there's no defense, but like the slider of like where things like, look at Marvel, like you can have the best defense in the world, but if you don't practice all of these setups and shit, you're not going to be rewarded in the same way. Like
it's safe to say not in the same way.
Yeah, the placement of the placement of like the reward is like farther down. Okay, so like no part of this is to be like, oh, this game has literally no defense. It's not Street Fighter 5. But like but yeah, it's like where that's placed. So I feel the same way about these ARPGs. And like, so one of the things that's I think is really interesting, I'll get into some nitty gritties now that you'll be really bored with probably. But
but before you do that, this is the WNBA argument, why the WNBA is more exciting or better basketball than the NBA.
Yeah, I actually feel. Yeah, I feel that way. I've heard that argument.
Of course
before.
You do. This is consistent with all of your beliefs. The NBA, if people don't know, is exclusively men, I think, and they can dunk and fly and defy gravity and all kinds of shit that
they're all 7 foot tall and
female players are at a disadvantage. They're usually not 8 foot tall flying men. So they have to resort to like core fundamentals of play. It's all about ball control and dribbling and making sure that you've got your strategy
right. Synergy.
You can't just You remember the scene in Space Jam where Michael Jordan takes the basketball and he dunks from like half court. His arm stretches real far. No one can do that in the WNBA. So they have to like play basketball the traditional way. And I think that's what appeals to you. I think that's the argument that you're making about fighting games. You don't want to see the anime character you don't want to see Merkava dunk. Shout outs to all my Under Night fans.
With their jammy meat penis
No, Merkava. Then we're not doing Melty Blood.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I'll link you Merkava and then I'll tell you, imagine this dunking later.
All right, I believe it.
I'm on it.
I believe it.
But please tell me about the nitty gritty.
So then there's like different encounter designs in all these games, right? And there are encounter designs that, I like a lot about Path of Exile, but like, dude, I have literally rage uninstalled the game like twice in the last 3 weeks because it's just got some of these fights like this where like it doesn't line up with everything you've been experiencing, right? So like in Diablo 2, most of the time what happens is like there's not much endgame in D2. It's fucking old. There's like 2 or 3 actual proper like endgame encounters, right? And they're like Uber fights, they usually call them. Maybe a little more. I think there's a little more than that, but it's pretty small in terms of what there is. But one of them is like Uber Diablo, and then you fight like Uber Diablo, Uber Mephisto, and Uber Baal like all at the same time. And those are like how you get charms and shit. But they're the same fight with like a little bit more bullshit going on, but it's the same kind of check as what you've met the entire rest of the game, which is like, do I walk in the door and fall over and die immediately? Right? Like, and if I don't, I can probably do this, even if there is some like bullshit that I have to deal with, I can probably deal with this. Like when the first time you go fight Diablo, he's like, yo, how much fucking lightning and fire res do you have? Because if you don't have lightning and fire res, I'm going to do fire breath, which is also lightning. He has like a lightning fire breath thing. And it's just going to fuck your shit up. And even if you have the maximum amount of it, you probably can't face tank it until like late game. So like this is like a consistent thing where then like the fight becomes, oh my God, this fire breath does like 10 million damage. I have to avoid it. And then I have to figure out how to hit him while I'm not avoiding fire breath. And like to me, that's interesting because he needs to do something that's scary that prevents you from just sitting there, which makes you think and be like engaged. But then it's also equally as important for me that once you realize that pattern and you can kind of like avoid, stick and move, do it, he needs to like die. It's not as fun if you realize the pattern and then you go to attack him and his health just doesn't move because he has like 10 million times more health than everything else that's ever existed. That is to me like the core realization point, because some people I think are like, oh no, I love that because I need to go rebuild my character and find out how to do 20 times more damage than I was doing a second ago. I just flat out don't think that's interesting. Like, and now that's not to say that I would never find an interesting fight being one where I have to maximize damage. But if I'm killing all this shit up to Diablo and I'm just instantly killing it, it's just dead. It's dead. It's dead. Just one shot, you're fucked. And then I get to Diablo and Diablo takes 10 minutes to kill. Basically, I've just described Path of Exile endgame. That's how it is. Okay. Where like you're just killing everything. Everything's fucking irrelevant. It's one shot. And then this dude has like 10 million health. That is to me like that's like the fighting game anime analog that I've like discovered is very frustrating. And once you get over that hump, well, then you were already one shot killing everything before anyway. So now it feels like, better, I guess, because you're like, well, now I'm one shotting these guys and I'm killing the boss. But whenever you're in between that point and the boss is this like far rift from like the rest of the map, that it's just bad. It feels bad. It feels really bad.
Well, okay. So it seems to me that core thing that they are testing in Path of Exile endgame, where it's about like respecing your character, making sure that your character is optimized for this particular boss fight to make number go down in a compelling fashion, is not a thing that interests you. Not that it's a boring or bad thing per se.
Well, it is
for you,
in my opinion.
See, yeah, there we go. That's the caveat, because then you'll say some bullshit
I hate having to say
Infinites
my
and Marvel
opinion.
aren't cool.
They aren't. I hate when you have to say like that's your opinion. Like, yeah, I was the one saying words. So what do you like? Okay. Like, why do I need to?
Well,
I didn't tell you it was math.
If you say some silly shit like infinites aren't cool,
of course it's my opinion.
We have to acknowledge that it's not cool to you. Of
Why
course
do
it's
we
your
have to
opinion.
acknowledge it? I don't know. That's to me that's
infinites
implied.
are cool.
No, they're not.
No.
See, no, Alex, you can't just say infinites are cool. We have to acknowledge that that's your opinion. Isn't that fucking annoying?
I'm fine with that.
No, fuck you.
I can live with that.
Get out of here.
You're not hurting me when you say that.
It doesn't hurt
Sticks
me.
and stones, Will.
It does annoy me. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it does.
Anyway. Yeah, so it's not, and I think that's what's like, it's not so much. Well, there's a couple of issues with it in PoE. One is that, in my opinion, the game isn't telling you that that's the kind of game that it is from the start. That's one of the reasons it's really frustrating.
Bad. Because that's implicitly bad.
And I think the reason it is that way is because the game didn't used to be that way. Like when Path of Exile was released back in the day, and for the first several years it was out, it was a way slower paced game, a way more methodical game. And here's a great example of how much this game has changed. So you have, are you familiar with potions?
Yes, I've used potions, high potions, X potions, mega potions.
Okay, well, in ARPGs, you usually have health potions. Okay, like from like the Diablo 2 days, you have health potions, you have mana potions. So Path of Exile takes this to the nth degree, like it always does with everything, this is good. And it's like, not only are you going to have health potions and mana potions, health potions and mana potions are going to be like items where you can get like magic health potions and like unique health potions, and you can like have all these different modifiers. And then also there'll be utility potions, which are potions that don't do anything with your health or your mana. They like make you attack faster, or they make you have like more armor while the potion's up. And then those can have modifiers. And it's like, oh man, that's so crazy cool. And then you're going to have 5 potion slots, right? And so instead of just having like 1 health potion button like in Diablo 3 or 4 health potion buttons like in Diablo 2, you have 5 different potion buttons, and some are utility, and some are mana, and some are health, and it's like, oh, cool, this is so cool. So the way the game used to work is like, you would go through, and you'd have all these different utility potions, and then you'd fight like a monster that did like a bunch of poison damage, and you'd use like your poison potion while you were fighting him. Or like, you'd fucking have like your offensive potion, and then like your defensive potion, and then you'd need like 3 or 4 different kinds of health potions because of like having immunities to cold damage or fire damage while you drank the health potion, blah, 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 blah. So the game was like slower, more methodical. And what would happen is you would get your potions by like killing things. So you would go through at your slower pace. You'd like fight a monster. You'd need to use the potion. You'd kill it. You'd get some potion charges back, and you'd like progress. But now the game is like so fast, and there's so much fucking bullshit flying around 24/7, and you're killing so many things that and I want to make sure that that everybody understands I'm about to be being very literal, and there is no hyperbole in this. You are incentivized by the game to Honda piano your potion buttons. And the potion buttons are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you are literally, as you play the game, I'm not exaggerating. You are literally, it's like you're spamming right click killing things, because it's an ARPG, it's already really fast. You have 4 or 5 other attack buttons, right? So say you have like QWERT are like your skills in addition to left click, right click. You're pianoing that, and you're switching between QWERT and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you're getting so many potion charges and killing so many things that in order to be optimal, you just want to have 100% uptime on your potions, because the game is so insane and fast. And it's such a problem. This has been a problem for like years, where like the community talks about how like it's like to the point where like it's almost like Super Smash Bros. Melee, where people are like concerned for your hands and your wrists and carpal tunnel,
tendonitis.
And Grinding Gear Games, who makes Path of Exile, are such fucking bastards that they won't even let you, even though it would make so much more sense to have one button that just hit all of your potions at once with the way the game is now. They hunt people down who use macros, and they fucking ban them.
Why?
Because they want us to suffer and have carpal tunnel?
Carpal tunnel? So that sounds fucked.
Like, there is so much drift away from where Path of Exile was several years ago compared to where it is now. And like, I think that's the second layer of frustration with the game, is that I think the game would be better even if they made Path of Exile Street Fighter V. If they made it like all offense, which it almost already is, but like there's some defense. I'm not going to go that hard. It's not Street Fighter V. Like there is defensive importance in the game for sure. It's like some midway between like Street Fighter 4 and 5 or whatever. I don't know. But like if they went all the way, it would probably be better actually. Because it's like this weird middle ground.
At least they meant it.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, but they're still, and it's almost as if they have like different developers and designers at the team that like, it's like they have these core tenets that they're still holding on to that are no longer relevant. And they either need to like go back or go forward. And it's like nobody cares. I mean, people have opinions. Like I have opinions. But but going in any like actual direction would be so preferable to like leaving it in this weird purgatory of like, because, and then what happens is it exacerbates the boss issue too, because, and this is actually, I think, a huge pillar of, again, my personal frustrations. And I know that this is like a thing in the community too, but like when you fight a boss, that whole potion thing, it's not a thing anymore. So it's another one of those instances of where like you've been playing the game and the game has been giving you this feedback, and the feedback is spam the shit out of your potions, because you're constantly killing everything and you're constantly getting potions. And the whole game is like, how much can you spam your potions? But then you get to a boss, and bosses, they might have a few ads that come in, a few like extra monsters, but it's mostly just fighting the boss. And since you're not killing things, you're not getting your potion charges back. And so then now suddenly not only are you doing less damage because the boss has 50,000 times more health, the potions, these utility potions I was talking about, literally increase your damage by a factor of like 2 or 3. Like you're doing 2 or 3 times damage, maybe even more, depending
on your build. Leaving a bunch of damage on the floor.
But you can't anymore. You don't have that damage anymore, because when you fight the boss, you spam through them. The boss has so much health, you're like, oh, this feels good. And then you run out of potions.
And then you're just dicked.
And then you're just doing like a fucking third of the damage that you were doing. And that's just like how encounter design is. And so then, okay, the final pillar of this, before I bore everyone to death, is that there are also really unintuitive mechanics. Now, this is a core of ARPGs in general. Like certain things just don't work a way you might expect, versus like, you know, you might have 4 or 5 different skills and 1 or 2 of them have like a really weird interaction. But this is like super exacerbated by all of the things I've led up to at this point, which is that you're like, you need way more damage. The damage that you need to kill a boss is like super disproportionate compared to the damage you need to kill like a normal monster. The potion shit. And this all funnels into this last part, which is like certain skills scale with all of these mechanics absurdly, and other skills literally do not at all. And this is where like I'm in the stage right now where like, you know how like you're trying to get good at certain things in a game, and at a certain point you realize that the game either does or doesn't do what you want it to do. And then you get mad, and then you're like, do I want to even bother continue playing this game since it doesn't do what I want it to do? And then at a certain point, if you decide to go forward, you're like, I'm going to lean into all the things that I hate. Right? Yes. This is like, I did this in Street Fighter V for like a long period of time, where it was just like, fuck it, it's not how I want it to be. And this is like when I learned like the Guile Corner Infinite or whatever, right? Like, and you're like, I don't want to do this, but fuck you. I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna do the dumb thing, and I'm gonna hate every second of what I'm doing.
I played Zero May Cry out of hate for like I don't know, 6 months or something. I was like, fuck you guys. If I can't enjoy Marvel, neither can you.
Yeah, exactly. You're
I'm
like,
over it
it's
now,
very it's a very toxic mental place to be.
Yeah.
But like sometimes it is kind of useful. It does help you like discover like, you know, the truth of the game. And quite often when you're into that point, it double, triple, quadruples down on the truth of the game being such a fucking piece of shit that you hate. So, okay, so I'm playing this skill. It's called Consecrated Path. It's really neat. You teleport punch, and it makes like a big explosion, okay? And there's like a couple different things that interact with it. You can link it to all different things. I won't bore you to death. But the gist of it is like basically you're incentivized with the way this build ends up you're incentivized to not just sit on someone's face and punch them. You're incentivized to kind of like run around. They have this, it's like Warcry prepping where like Warcry's buff, you like shout, it buffs a thing that you do, and then you like dump it into this big hit, right? So you're incentivized to like move around, like stick and move, and then you like port in, hit with this big fucking slammy Superman teleport punch, okay? And then you like fuck off and like move around and do the mechanics. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool skill. Because it basically gives me exactly what I want, which is like the ability to like kind of like pool all of my damage into like this single, like you prep, and then you have this like single interaction, and then you're in like a cooldown phase. I was like, that is really neat. I really like this. So I'm going through, I'm one-shotting all the fucking mobs, like I said. You get to the boss. There's some bosses that like you can set up pretty well. You can like two-shot a boss. You're like, damn, that feels good. I super punch this guy. But then there's other bosses, because this game's fucking stupid, that have like 50,000 million times more HP. And suddenly you're like, ah, man, this doesn't feel good. Even if I prep my biggest, fattest, hardest punch and I line everything up right, the thing that has been one-shotting everything else, this boss, or these bosses now, if I prep that up and I do the most perfect thing, the boss takes like 1/200th of his life, or 1/100th of his life. And you're just like, well, that's
100 more times.
Well, that's fucking stupid. Right? This fight's going to take forever. So I'm going through, and there's these enchants that you get for like your helmets in this game, that like the enchants for your helmets specifically give you things that make like a particular skill better. And I'm like, man, I want to get this enchant for my super punch, because even though it's still going to take a million years to kill him, maybe I could kill this guy in like 100 punches instead of 120 punches, right? So I'm like, all right. And as I'm going through, I get this enchant for another skill that I've never used. But it's like similar. It's a slam skill, which works with war cries and how my build is. It's called Earth Shatter. And you like slam the ground and a bunch of spikes come out of the ground. And then if you shout, the spikes like erupt and explode. And so I start fucking with it. And I'm like, all right, I'm not as mobile. I don't like that, you know, but it's kind of similar. I'm like, let's just try this on some bosses and see what happens. So I go through like a level, and it's like definitely slower than teleport punch move, like to get through like all the trash, as they call it. I'm like, yeah, you know, it's pretty slow comparatively, but it's not like awful. Like maybe it'll do some more boss damage. So there, like, I changed nothing about my build. All I did was drop this skill gem in, and I happen to have an enchant that makes it do like a little bit more damage, but this enchant is not like the reason. All I did, this enchant is just the reason that I tried it. Okay? I go into like a boss that would take me like 2 minutes to kill or more. And I'm like, all right, put down my Earth Shatter. I do the spikes. I explode. The boss goes from 100% hit points down to about 10% hit points instantaneously. And I'm just like,
damn.
Oh, so that's like the degree of disparity
between super punch
and skill interactions in this game.
Yeah.
That is like how fucking, and that's so frustrating, because like you would expect a move might be a little better or a little worse at single target. Like I would have expected this move to do more damage than super punch. Obviously, it's worse at like fighting normal monsters, right? I would have expected it, but it does like minimum. And the reason, it's because of shotgunning. Do you know about shotgunning?
I am familiar with the core concept of a shotgun.
So yeah, so basically shotgunning in like an ARPG context is like a move that has multiple explosions, projectiles, hitboxes, whatever, and they're quote unquote intended to hit like lots of different things. But if a thing is big enough and fat enough, like say a boss, some moves have no code to prevent overlapping damage. Some moves do, and there's like no fucking consistency with this, but some moves are like clearly they'll look at a move and be like, well, this couldn't do that. That would be overpowered. And then other moves, just for absolutely no reason whatsoever,
they're like, go for it.
They just don't, and they don't care. And this is one of those moves where like you slam the ground and these little spikes come out of the earth, and when you blow up the spikes, each individual spike can hit the same thing. And so that's why it's literally at least 5 times the damage. For the exact same build, the exact same gear, the exact same setup, because it just hits 5 times. And so like, that's my Zero May Cry moment where I'm like, all right, fuck it. I guess I'm just going to play Earth Shatter because apparently I do 50 quadrillion times more damage. And that's just how this game is balanced. Like the game is literally balanced around shit like that. And I don't understand that level of failure from a balance standpoint. I don't understand it because they clearly know about this move. And there are other moves like this. This move isn't even good. And that's the thing that's really crazy is like, this move isn't even like, I'm playing like a fucking C tier move. Okay. And this move is like 50 times better than this other thing.
Your other one, which is apparently ass.
Yeah. There are things and ways, even with this same move, that you can do like even more insane shotgun shit. And that's like where I've just been like, all right, I guess I'll just accept it and I'll lean into it because that's how they balance this game. They balance it around these stupid fucking moves. This is an example, if I can go back into some fighting game shit, of an instance, in my opinion, this whole game is an instance of the merits of nerfing. Everybody has like such a boner for like, no, don't nerf, buff.
Don't nerf, always buff.
No.
I have that boner.
They need to nerf so many fucking things in this game. They need to nerf the health of bosses, and they need to fucking gut and annihilate every single dumb fucking move that does 50 times the damage of another move. Because it's
more
not
variety.
It's not as if like, oh man, all these things do a shit ton of damage and are good, and we have like this one move like Consecrated Path or whatever, Slam move or whatever, Cleave. It's not as if like there's like 5 moves that are bad. It's the opposite. There's like 5 moves that are good. Like General's Cry is fucking busted. It's like you summon like fucking 50 of a guy and they all repeat the same move. And so then you use General's Cry to summon 50 of a guy to use a move that also shotguns, like Earth Shatter, like what I have. That would be, okay, sorry, let me get on another kick. That would be another way this game will piss me off as I go forward, because almost all of the best builds are not you like doing a thing. Like, you doing a thing as a character, like me hitting with a move, it only goes so far in this game. At a certain point, it's almost always better to like have a minion do that move, like a totem or this General Cry, or like have the move cast while you do like a cyclone, which like raises corpses. Like there's always like a cutoff point where your ability to like level up a character's damage comes from you causing these like extraneous interactions. And I guess some people think that's fun, but I want my character to hit with the axe harder.
You want the agency?
I don't want, I don't.
You.
I think it's exactly, and I think it's okay to have, I'm not saying like you can never have extraneous,
because
like
that's someone else's agency.
Yeah, but the problem is that those are like the only good viable ones. Like, oh, I'm going to go ball lightning. And the reason ball lightning does damage is not because of ball lightning itself. It's because I make it go like really slow and then it procs this other shit. And it's like, that's fine, but there should also be a line that's like, my ball of lightning does the damage. But there just isn't. It's always, and it's just because of the same shit I'm talking about, where there's just like all these crazy weird things, and you just have to manipulate them with like these particular skills that play well with these stupid mechanics. So anyway, I don't know. It's been a frustrating week, and I'm just gonna keep playing the game. Sorry. But I'm just gonna keep playing the game because no one wants to play World of Warcraft.
Oh damn! Well, you guys know who you are.
So I'll play. I'll play Path of Exile alone and be annoyed, and then occasionally play Street Fighter 4, I guess, and then that'll be my life until, I don't know, probably patch 9.1, where I repeat the same cyclical bullshit with World of Warcraft.
Where you fool yourself into thinking that you enjoy it for a little bit.
Well, no, I almost always do, but then I'll fool myself into thinking that my friends will do the same thing that I want to do, but they won't. So anyway.
Is this a cry for help?
Well, I feel better than I did last week, if that's what you're getting at, but I still mostly hate the world, yes.
No, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know,
Both
man.
sucks.
Like, I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know. I'm not in a good place.
So-
I'm not. I'm definitely not.
I'm sorry.
Don't help me though. That'll make things worse.
No, God, no. No, I was going to say a minute ago, I don't mind if a game has a specific thing that it wants to tell me is what the game is about, as long as I understood that at jump. So, like, if you told me Street Fighter, we're playing a fighting game, right? And the point of the game is for me to kick you in the foot before you kick me in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the game. And I sit there, and it turns out that the best way to do that is to fly around and kick people in the head. Like, that's not what I was told.
Yes.
May I continue to kick people in the feet? If the answer to that is no, because everyone is flying, then like, fuck it. My options are either to fly around and kick people in the head or to play a different game.
Well, and I think we're basically talking about emergent gameplay, and sometimes emergent gameplay can actually be really cool, and sometimes it's just fucking frustrating, and it kind of depends on the game, and I guess where it. Yeah, there's a lot of variables there.
Based on the way that you're describing potion usage in Path of Exile, there's a weird, almost like hostile architecture, sort of hostile game architecture design to it. It seems like they want people to suffer. Like, what about people with like actual carpal tunnel or like a physical handicap where they are unable to do jab hands constantly in two different spots on their keyboard?
It's fucking hubris. They're so, yeah, no, I'm serious. They are so, like, and okay, here's the other reason that I like being pissed about this game. I think it's the perfect storm of exactly the thing that personally will piss me off, but just in general, I think would piss most people off, but it's like extra bad for me. It's because this company is like this indie company, and like literally 13 or 14 years ago, this game was like everybody's cool little love child baby because it was like a weird indie thing that was free, and against all odds, it became like the most popular ARPG in the world because Diablo 3 sucked. It was the perfect storm of Diablo 3 fucking being awful, Blizzard becoming shittier, this game getting better. They did all these things, and everybody like wants to fucking hold it up like it's this like, oh, but Path of Exile, it's but the problem is that was fucking like 15 goddamn years ago. What this game is now is the most popular free-to-play game that was probably ever made. Like, it is fucking the most, well, maybe not, maybe there's probably some, there's probably some MOBAs.
Grand Blue.
Probably some MOBAs. Grand Blue's not a free play game. What are you talking about? You gotta buy Grand Blue.
Grand Blue Fantasy, not Versus.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, yeah. So that's too much, but it's extremely popular. It's certainly one of the most popular games, just period. But it's, people try to like still give it that what's the word I'm looking for? They give it that pass. And it's like, no, fuck you. They're not this like small lovable indie company anymore.
Yeah.
They're like a multi-million-dollar company who makes all this money, and people try to like fucking give them a pass. And it's like, no, they should do better. And they have a hubris to where they're like, oh no, like we're not going to change potions. Like they have all these good reasons, and here's what they are. And it's like, have you played your own video game? Have you played your own video game? Because there's no way you have. And I think that is the ultimate sin of any game developer, is when you can tell they don't fucking play the game. And I don't care what they say. They could come at me with anything. They could be like, here's me playing the game for 1,000 hours, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Then you're playing it through a weird lens. You're doing, like, there is no way anyone could ever play Path of Exile that has half a brain, that understands anything about anything, that could look at the way that potions play in this game and think that that is good, or something that deserved any redemption, or something that should ever be the way that it is. And if you think that that is the way, you should probably just fucking kill yourself. There is no rational human who could ever have that thought. There isn't. And like, if you look at the fucking subreddit, look at like most everybody agrees with like, and maybe they don't agree with what should happen to potions, but like pretty much everybody agrees that like something needs
Potions
to be
are
done.
a problem. Yeah.
And then like the developers are just like, no man, fuck that. And if you use a fucking hotkey macro, we're going to ban you. There was actually this dude in one of the fucking threads in the subreddit talking about this the other day that I thought was the fucking best shit ever. He was like, hey, Grinding Gear Games, here's my account name. I use a fucking potion thing. Fucking ban me, you fucking cunts. Like, and like they read the forums a lot. Like they're like the devs are on there. I don't know what became of it, but like it's so egregious. It would be like, I'm trying to think of like a fucking fighting game analogy. I don't even know. Like, what is
like if they ban people for super canceling?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And yeah, exactly. It's like no. Actually, this is perfect. It would be like if it's like nobody likes plinking. I mean, everybody likes plinking because it makes things easier, but they don't like it because they don't want to do it. It'd be like if you were playing Smash Melee and you didn't want to L cancel, and so you
banned L canceling.
No, wait a minute. No, this is perfect. Brawl was this way. It's like how Brawl people fucking took their springs out of their controllers. Because
Why?
Because the game was designed like shit, and your controller is analog, and so in Melee you had analog shielding, but in Brawl they took out analog shielding, and all shielding is digital. You could either shield or not shield, and the reason they took it out is because they had to fucking accommodate for people who played with the nunchuck held sideways.
Oh.
The Wiimote sideways. So people took their springs out, but then Nintendo was like trying to be stupid about it, or tournament organizers would be like, oh man, I don't know, should we ban this? And it's like, fuck you.
If the game got a modified controller.
The game has a stupid fucking mechanic that punishes you for no reason. You know, like, and it's not like you're modding in a turbo button. You're just taking a spring out of the controller because the game doesn't use the spring anyway. And all it does is make like shielding a bigger pain in the ass. Like, I never did that personally, but like if you have a serious problem, like if you're modding a turbo button in, that's like, fuck you. But if you're like modding your controller by just deleting a function out of it because the game is stupid.
Did you ever hear about Waggle Zero? Did you ever hear Karasa complain about Waggle Zero?
No, I don't know this story. Tell me a story of fighting games past, Professor Lex.
So Tatsunoka versus Capcom came out exclusively on the Wii, which is a really dumb choice. Technically, you could mod your existing arcade stick or find an arcade stick. I think they made an SE for TVC specifically. Not important. What's important is the game was made for the Wii, so you would think that it would, as a fighting game, be designed for arcade sticks, and it was, but also you could use the Wii remote and the nunchuck, and if you waggled, like sat there and shook the Wii remote as zero, I think you could charge the Buster faster, so you had access to combos and a fully charged Buster. But then you'd have to play on a Wii remote and a nunchuck, which, I mean, was good, apparently. But you had to just sit there and shake the thing around and feel like an idiot. So, yeah, that's what that reminded me of. I just wanted to remind people.
No, that's accurate. But that's accurate. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, and this is like offensively toxic game design.
What the fuck were you thinking?
It's what's another great example of this? Just something like should not be in a fucking, oh my god, yeah, we're talking about Smash. Fucking mashing and Smash should just be deleted from the entire series. Like there is nothing. You want a fixed
amount of
grab mash,
grab stun.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. There is just no reason to encourage people to just break their controllers.
Oh, so but what about? I think it's hype in Samurai Showdown though. When you guys clash swords.
Okay, here's the reason that it's hype. Here's the reason. Yeah, exactly. It has to do with the frequency of the interaction. I will still say that the randomness of it, like when it occurs, it's like a chance when you hit at the same time. It's not even like guaranteed. I think that's kind of stupid, but I think it works. Sure. I think it works because, like you said, it's way like you have to mash and smash. I don't even know how many times. It's every time you get grabbed. Yes. Every time you get grabbed, you want to mash, and that's like stupid. Yep. You're gonna get grabbed all the fucking time. Much less grounded effects and all that. Don't even.
Or in Melee to get out of tumble.
Yep. But yeah. But so it's just way more often. Samurai Showdown is like, it's not even once a set necessarily that it happens.
Oh yeah.
It might be once a set. Might be, but I doubt. I don't think it's that often.
I feel like when you and I sat down to play Samurai Showdown, it would happen maybe like 2 times in a 3-4 hour grind session.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon. And so I think that does make it more okay. But like there's just one like actually, oh god, Alex, you're the best. So this would be like if you look at like Path of Exile potion design and you compare that, it would be as if Samurai Showdown had existed as a game for 8 years, and there had been all these patches and changes, and that over time, it was literally like a 1 in 2 chance anytime you ever hit anyone that the mash mechanic would occur. And then people are going to the devs and like, guys, this is just too much mashing. It doesn't make sense.
I keep breaking controllers. I hate it.
If you, like, you know, I'm not saying I do or don't like where this game went. I'm not even trying to say that I should, or that the game should or shouldn't go back a certain way. I'm not even saying that. But for where the game is now, we have to delete this mashing mechanic. It doesn't make sense. We're just breaking everything. Everyone has carpal tunnel. And then the developers of Sam Show said, fuck you. And we're going to ban you if you mash too hard. Like, that's
if you
so
use a turbo
stupid.
button, yeah.
Oh, I would be pro turbo button if that was how the fucking meta. If that was how
because
the fucking meta of Sam Show.
Right? Because you'd have to get to the turbo button before the other guys.
I don't know if I'd say interesting is right, but it would be preferable. It would be preferable to that meta. So yeah, dude, it's just, man. I don't know. Just game developers fucking holding on like this fucking, they have some like weird pride for a thing they did. And it's like if you, God, dude, it's like if you like built a house and you were like, the thing about this house is that it's only going to have one toilet. And you were like, okay, cool. And you just lived there, and you just lived there by yourself. But then, like, over time, 1,000 people lived in this house with you, and you were like, "No, man, we're never gonna not have one toilet."
And they were like, "I don't know what the solution needs to be. I don't know if we need more toilets."
They're doing all this like mental gymnastics about how like it could be anything at all other than just getting more toilets.
And you said, fuck you. And if you poop outside, I will ban you from the house.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. That's my shtick for today. I hope it didn't bore everyone to death too much. Notice. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I hope they do good things, but I don't know. Meh. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I guess this has been a podcast.
It's been a podcast.
I have been MetalMusicMan.
I've been Professor Lex.
And we will catch you guys next time. Bye.